What do you say, everybody? Welcome to Monday Night Quarterback. Yep, right here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. This is where we are every Monday at 6 o'clock with Tony Tsoukalas and Trey Yanity. I'm Mick Gillispie. Good to see all you guys. Well, I mean, really, we don't see you, but you see us. Great to have you with us, though, tonight. And as you hang out with us, 50,000 strong here on the Bama Insider Alabama Rivals YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already part of the Crimson Tide, the wave that is Bama Insider. Jump on right now. Not the Crimson Tide, but the Crimson Tide, right? The wave itself. Great to have all you guys with us tonight. And seriously, so much to talk about. Even though we're kind of in a dead period for college football, we normally, it's a quarterback show. I mean, we throw the football around, but it's a different rock that we're going to talk about to start this show. Congratulations to the Alabama Crimson Tide men's basketball team. They followed suit with football, and they became the SEC champs, first time since 2002. And I'm going to keep saying this. I was courtside. I ran out on the court when that happened. I was a student at Alabama at the time. I watched Petway lay it up to beat Florida. Mark Gottfried was the coach, and little did we know it was going to take this long to win another SEC championship. Good news for Alabama, though. Their win Saturday against Mississippi State, and they are the regular season champs. And the boys will be getting rings. So that right there tells you that this is a special campaign. Tony Tsoukalas still think that the regular season isn't as important as the tournament. And congratulate these guys, my man.
Congratulations. I still think that it will be a very exciting run and there'll be even more excitement if/when Alabama wins the SEC basketball tournament. But that's not to take away from the achievement that they just accomplished. It probably takes more talent to do what they did, but in terms of excitement, there's something magical about watching them go on that what will be three wins in 3 days if they're able to do it.
Well, look, you don't get a ring for the tournament, but they haven't won the tournament in a long time either. So it's not like they're winning tournaments and not winning the regular season. But Trey, these guys, they're making your senior year at Alabama pretty special. All these programs are winning and winning at a high pace. And this is an SEC championship for basketball. So you and Fluffopotamus and all the rest of the seniors got to be really happy.
Yeah, what a time to be in Tuscaloosa. This is crazy. It's, getting to go storm whatever to celebrate your team after a championship one time is asking a lot. Alabama, you get to do it twice this year and, potentially even more. Such an awesome day Saturday. The team goes to Mississippi State, gets the title, comes home, Fluffopotamus there with cigar in mouth, celebrated by everybody, the rest of the Alabama fans. Just a really special day for this team. And, I'm 50-50. I think I lean with Tony on the tournament as far as, maybe what's more exciting, what matters more. But this is such an unbelievable achievement. First time since 2001, 2002. This team is special too. You think about it, guys, this team's lost 3 games in the last couple of weeks, and you still feel like they're one of the best teams in the country. They're still in the top 10, haven't left it in a long time. So, the sky's the limit. They're continuing to get healthy. Bruner's looking healthier. Juwan Gary's looking pretty healthy, all things considered. And, I think they could go ahead and win that tournament, as well, along with this SEC regular season title. But excellent weekend. Great to see him get it done.
Kudos to the fans. I listened to a little bit of Chris Stewart, my main man, Brian Passink. I love those guys. And I got to give a shout out to Chris because, honestly, we were really concerned that he wasn't going to make it this far in life. He was really, really sick. What was it, like a year ago? And it's just so great to have him back behind the mic. And, I've had him on some shows in the past, and he's talked about, and it's a great story that he can tell. But just how close to death he was. He had a stroke, and then he had some kind of heart thing, and then he had, like a blood thing that happens when you get surgery. What do they call that? Staph or something, and then, it was very, very fatal, but he fought back through, and he was weak, and it took a lot of work and prayers and everything else for him to get back. And I got to tell you, too, Brian, his color partner off the court, is one of his best friends. And When Chris was in the hospital, I used to call Brian, and Brian would give me the update. I spent a couple years working with Chris doing baseball at Alabama, and I just think he's a fantastic guy. And it was just even though he was sitting at bomb hours broadcasting the game that Alabama played at Mississippi State, I was really happy for him. Almost like a little bit of a tear after everything he's been through. He's loved this basketball team. It's been his pride and joy, and they're the SEC champs. And they kept saying, hey, they're going to be back. Then, show up to Coleman Coliseum and check them out. And guys, I thought that was really cool as well. It was really special on Saturday to see all those fans, Tony, waiting outside of Coleman for those champions, the SEC champs, to show back up.
Yeah, I was there. I kind of helped us get some video for that. It was really nice to see that many people, caring for basketball. Obviously it's on short notice because you don't know if they're going to win or not. So for them to kind of join the team, and it was a real happy moment for the players as well. It was just kind of fun to see them come off the bus, and obviously, full excitement. Nate Oates, big smile on his face as well. Look, like you've said a million times, it is a big achievement. And these players, I think about what it is for a guy like John Petty or Alex Reese or Herbert Jones. They've been through so much, just, going through a coaching change, going through some really big lows here. They stuck with this program, and they were rewarded with a conference title.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of year it is too, Trey, where you have senior leadership, and it really has paid off because I'm guessing, so much practice didn't take place leading into the season. And you can tell the main programs, the Blue Bloods, North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, go down the list. They haven't had great seasons. And here's this Alabama team that's had players who have stuck with the program. And they've watched a couple of their teammates get to the NBA as lottery picks, including Lewis last year. And look at where they're at right now. I give Coach Avery Johnson a lot of credit, too, for helping build the foundation.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, a lot of these guys are Avery's players, or, the seniors, at least John Petty, Herbert Jones, those guys. But it's all credit to Nate Oates at the end of the day. You look, around the country, Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, they're all struggling. You think, well, why is that? Because it's all new players every year. And this year it wasn't a traditional offseason. So they weren't able to get the 5 stars and the 4 stars together as much. They weren't able to get them to mesh as early. And, it's really taken an effect on a lot of those big time programs. For schools like maybe Iowa this season that are a little bit more established within their program, they've had guys for 3 or 4 years now on that team. They're all right. That's what you kind of worry about as an Alabama fan. This team has so much talent, but it was a very young team, and there's a lot of new faces around. But thankfully, it's been those seniors. It's been John Petty. It's been Alex Reese, Herbert Jones, whoever, even transfer guys, Jordan Bruner, bringing leadership, bringing experience that I think has helped this team mesh. It took a little bit. This team struggled. They lost to Stanford and Clemson and even Western Kentucky early on in the season, but they bounced back and found their rhythm. And as you notice, a lot of the other teams that, have a lot of young talent as well, like Kentucky and Duke, are starting to get it together. It just took them a little longer. Credit to Nate Oates for getting his group together so early this season.
Hey, guys, give us a thumbs up as you hang out with us tonight here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. If you haven't already, give us a like, a subscribe, man. Hang out with us every Monday night at 6 o'clock when Tony, Trey, and I break it down on Monday Night Quarterback. Talking a lot of basketball here, though. Alabama, the SEC champs for the first time since 2002. First time since like 75 that football and basketball both won an SEC championship in the same season. How far can this team go? And let me just preference that by saying, and you guys can debate me, that I don't feel like Alabama has that go-to shooter. I think they have a lot of guys who make buckets and they'll score. And when Petty's hot, I think he's as good of a shooter from beyond the arc as there is, right? Herbert Jones probably going to be number one, right? The SEC Player of the Year. If he doesn't, he's going to come really close to that. But when Alabama has lost this year, Oklahoma, they lost to Clemson, they lost to Western Kentucky, they lost to Missouri, and they lost to what was that last game that they lost? Help me out here, Trey. Arkansas. They were close games, right? Arkansas really wasn't. I'm going to throw that one out. The entire team really did not shoot well. Same thing at Mississippi State, but they were able to win. Now, those other games came down to the end, and it didn't really feel like Alabama had that player that wanted to make the last second shot, that wanted to be the hero, the go-to guy. Why am I wrong, Tony? I feel like you got to have that guy if you're going to make a run in the tournament.
Look, you're right to a certain extent. It'd be nice to have a guy that was established as that guy. I think maybe Petty, if you need that last second shot, is that guy. But Alabama's been able to win close games. They've been able to hold on to close games as well. So it's not necessarily that they've proven that they can win games without having quote unquote that guy. I think what we're talking about is if it came down to a last second shot, perhaps, and I think that guy is John Petty. But I don't necessarily think you have to have the guy that you just totally rely on. I mean, look, Alabama has a really analytical approach, and they're not going to try to force things regardless. So they're going to spread the ball around and get an open shot. That's what their whole offense kind of revolves around. It's almost like when you look at the approach that Alabama has and just finding the open guy, it's almost anti having the guy. You need 3 or 4 guys that are all capable of shooting to spread out the court. So I don't think they're going to try to force it to anyone in particular. It'd be nice if they, I don't think Alabama's going to be turning down any superstar players. I think when J.D. Davison comes in next year, I think he's going to be possibly the guy. He could have more of a Colin Sexton type role, especially with some of these seniors leaving. But at the moment, I don't necessarily think Alabama's in trouble in that regard.
Yeah, Trey?
Yeah, this team is just so deep. That's the thing. And it's not as balanced, as some teams. The inside depth isn't very good. They need some bigger, more physical guys maybe on future rosters. But as far as this roster goes, there's a lot of guys you can go to shoot the basketball. Like Tony said, it's probably John Petty. If it was 3 seconds to go, NCAA tournament, whatever, you're probably getting the basketball to John Petty there. But at the same time, you feel comfortable giving it to Jaden Shackelford or, Josh Primo or Javon Quinterly or any of these guys, because they're all lights out shooters. We've seen these last few weeks. Yeah, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, like you're talking about, Missouri. Some of these games, they've gotten cold and they haven't gotten out to hot starts. They haven't been able to shoot the basketball really well, but they've still won the majority of those games, which makes you feel confident because you look at that defense and it's still in the top 5 in efficiency in the country. So you just have to figure out, I think, a way to control the pace. I think that's Alabama's biggest thing right now. In these games, especially you saw it against Arkansas, they never really had control of the pace, and they were never able to get it back. So if they can do that well, I think they're going to be okay. They don't necessarily need somebody to get inferno hot, just one guy. But as long as they're shooting somewhere in the 40s, this team in the 30s from the field, and even 25-30% from 3, they're going to be just fine because they're playing such good defense right now.
Well, Alabama is going to make the NCAA tournament. We'll find out how they finish up the regular season. They'll have a couple of games to kind of play with before we get into the tournament in Nashville. It's going to be a lot of fun. If Alabama can continue to play really good basketball, they might be a number 2 seed, maybe a number 1 seed. I mean, it just depends how they finish the season, but they are SEC champs, and that does come with a ring. That comes with, a banner in the rafters. And it comes with reunions, and you're never forgotten, like Erwin Dudley and Antoine Petway and the rest of the guys from 2002. This crew will be talked about basketball-wise for a long time. Now, the other basketball program, and we talk about it here from time to time, I say accountability. You're going to fire Avery Johnson, Avery Johnson brought a lot of these guys in and had some lottery picks and built the foundation, and he's probably somewhere going, hey, I got some credit due to me. Women's basketball, another week where they lost 2 games. They're still, looking at the standings right now, they're 8-8. I mean, they're 15-8 overall. They didn't really play a good non-conference schedule, but they won a lot of those games. They've held their own in the SEC. We haven't been to a women's basketball tournament in like 25 years or something, well, at least in the 2000s, right? I know, Trey, you're a big fan of Christy Curry and this basketball program. You wave the banner. Tell me why they're going to make the tournament. They've got one more regular season game. They're kind of backing in again. I mean, they're on the bubble. If they don't, like the best part about it is for women's basketball, if they make the tournament, then it doesn't matter what they do because they've been so bad. Everybody will be like, oh, that's great. And the men's team, you put together a pretty good squad and you get fired. But look, I mean, they went out and got a great coach.
No, if you make the tournament, if you're Christy Kerr this year, I think you're just fine because they haven't had that success in a long time. And, you want to talk about maybe a coaching change, this, that, whatever. That's a discussion for another day. But this team here specifically, I think is going to make the tournament because they've been consistent. They haven't gone on too many losing streaks when they've lost. It's been after 2 or 3 wins in a row. The teams they've lost to have been quality opponents. They went to South Carolina, top 3 team in the country, lost there. They played a really good Arkansas team on the road yesterday, went up there and lost. So, I think the committee's just going to look at the body of work. They're going to look at a couple quality wins. They swept Mississippi State this year. They did some things right. Maybe they didn't get that signature win that they needed to make the tournament. That might keep them out. I think that was kind of the case last year. They had some really quality wins. It was more of a consistency issue last year. And, you think about it, they just win 1 game in the SEC tournament against Georgia. They probably make it last year. But, I think they're going to make it this year just because they've been one of those teams that you look at and you don't maybe think of them as a powerhouse in the SEC, but they've been comparable. They've been solid. They've been ranked and kind of been in that 30s range, quadrant 2, I guess, if we're going to really get into it here on the women's side. But, they've done enough. They maybe need some help, but I think they've done enough to make the tournament. What do you think, Tony? Is this team going to get into the big dance?
I'm not going to lie to you guys and pretend like I know too much about this women's basketball team. I do know that Nick is probably not going to get a Christmas card from Christy Curry anytime soon. But look, this is a program that it's just kind of slipped from the radar of Alabama fans. So I think, I'm not gonna, talk like I know a lot about this team, but I do know that they need to make the NCAA tournament just to bring back that, that following at Alabama and be relevant again. Because, when they haven't been there. They haven't won anything. They really don't have much to show for themselves over the last few years. So be really important for them to make the tournament this year.
Well, a few years. I mean, like it's been 20 years. I mean, like it's been over 20 years. And Christy Curry's been coaching. Alabama hasn't made the tournament one time. And it's like we have this accountability for the men. I just want the same accountability for the women's team. And it's not just making the tournament; it's expecting to win championships. And I love the fact that that's what Alabama men's basketball has said that they won, and they went out and got a great coach, and look at where they are right now. So we'll see what happens. One thing I will say is they played a really good game at South Carolina, and if they would have won that one and they only lost by like 4 or 5 points, that was a really good game. No one coaches. I think Christy Curry's a really good ball coach, just not a great recruiter. And for Alabama, if they're going to be able to be able to get to the tournament and win and be in the top of the SEC, they're going to have to get better players, but that has not followed her track record. All right, well, let's switch gears here, and this is probably the only place that you're going to hear anyone talk about women's basketball, but I try to bring it up once a week. They have one more game, by the way, against Missouri, and then they're squarely on the bubble to make the NCAA tournament. All right, football time, guys. You like football? Hey, yeah. Happy birthday. Your guy.
Yes, Ty Pirine, the unsung hero of Alabama football. Look, I'm a big Ty Pirine guy. I know he didn't punt last year, but he won me over during the season before last. I'd like to see him do well. I still remember the tackle he made against Tennessee with that first punt, comes in for Will Riker, punts the ball, runs down and upends the Tennessee returner. From there, I've been pretty sold on Ty Pirine just as it doesn't get kind of a BA punter when it comes down to it.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with love and walk-ons. I mean, like, I think that's kind of what makes college sports a lot of fun. And these guys that they're regular college kids, and they come to campus, they don't have the scholarship, but they want to play, and they find a spot, and they get out on the field and they do some things. there's not a lot of walk-ons that play at Alabama. I mean, partly because this Crimson Tide program is so good. And for those of you that are watching right now, you know it. We cover recruiting. I mean, they're number one in recruiting. They kill it. I mean, Nick Saban is the beast of the recruiting. And you watched on signing day as one after another blue chip prospects landed at Alabama. Thumbs up, subscribe as you hang out with us on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. How about another one, guys? Can you have too many prospects? I want to know the answer to this because Ty Simpson, I was hearing rumblings that Ty was going to South Carolina. There were some people that thought that maybe, possibly, he was going to Tennessee. I think if Jeremy Pruitt would not have gotten fired, Tennessee would have been his spot. But that's not the case. And here comes Nick Saban and his NFL head coaches, O'Brien and Marone, and they come in and they swoop out a 4-star quarterback that could be upgraded to a 5-star quarterback before it's all said and done. This is a big get out of Martin, Tennessee for Alabama, Tony.
Yeah, from one tie to another tie. But this one could have a really big impact for Alabama. Certainly won't be a walk-on as well. I think that, Ty Simpson's a big get for Alabama. It also just shows that Alabama can pull elite quarterbacks. It used to be, when you looked at Alabama, it was always the game manager quarterback, but now they're pulling, rivals 100 quarterbacks every year. I mean, look, Jalen Milroe was in this class. Let's not forget about that. They had Bryce Young the class before that. So that's 3 straight years with a rivals 100 quarterback. It's pretty big deal. And I think that, Alabama is, only going to continue to do this with the way its offense is running. And, look, after, this draft, depending on where Mac Jones goes, I mean, at one point next season, there could be 3 Alabama starters at quarterback. Used to not even have a quarterback, really in the league other than AJ McCarron. And now you could have 3 guys starting on their teams. That's huge for Alabama. It's huge for recruiting, and it's only going to help develop that position in the future. It gives them a lot to sell. So guys like Ty Simpson only going to add to that culture and kind of grow it and turn Alabama into a destination place for top quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've known Alabama's been linebacker you, running back you. The defensive linemen have always been there. We've seen some guys in the secondary, and then Nick Saban showed up. And Trey, it's just been amazing to watch this guy. And just when you think that, just when people started to say that the Alabama run was over, Georgia, LSU, they found out the hard way that this thing just continues to go. They might get beat every once in a while, but Clemson, really good programs with solid players. But Alabama just keeps on finding a way under Nick Saban, and it's getting guys like this.
People love to pronounce the dynasty dead, and you just can't. While this guy is in office, while he is the head coach, the GOAT, it's just not happening. This dude is recruiting better than anybody else. He's coaching these kids better than anybody else. He's on top of every facet of this game. Any way you could be in front of another program, he's on it. And, you talk about RBU, wide receiver U, defensive back U, whatever else. Alabama is truly becoming quarterback U. And, they're everything U right now. But you think about it, you got Jalen Milroe on this team now. I mean, you got Ty Simpson coming in, and those aren't even the guys that are going to be starting probably next year. So, so much depth in this room now. It was great to see the commitment. I'm with you. I think he's probably a Tennessee Volunteer if they make some different coaching decisions. But, it's going to be great to have him. And you heard him talk about it too on Friday. A lot of kids want to get into programs and start right away. Of course, if you're a 5-star, if you're a 4-star like Ty was, you're wanting to play. Start right away at a major program maybe, but he's willing to wait. He's willing to get his chance. He's willing to, see what Bryce Young does. And this is credit to Mac Jones, I think, because, credit to Jalen Hurts and Tua as well, because these guys were so patient with each other, and they were patient with the decisions that Nick Saban was making, because they knew at some point or another, I'm probably going to get my opportunity. All 3 of them did. All 3 of them are about to be in the league. I think we could see 3 more quarterbacks on Alabama's roster, 2 currently on the roster, 1 coming in, and Ty Simpson also get into the league. But it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of work them, in and out here.
Yeah, long way to go before we get there. What were you going to say, Tony?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Mac Jones's patience, because I think that's actually one of the things that's going to be the biggest thing for Alabama. I mean, like that might be the biggest, if you look moving forward, the fact that Mac was able to excel the way he did, not only is that going to help Alabama, show that you can build a quarterback, it's also going to help some of these kids stay. They have now a role model or a path that Nick Saban can say, look, don't just transfer after year 2 if you're not a starter. You can turn into a Heisman contender if you just wait your turn.
Sure.
And that's a really tough sell for, some of these 5-star guys. We heard Ty Simpson, upon committing to Alabama, said that, even if he just had 1 year with Alabama, it would be worth it. I don't know if that, I don't know Ty Simpson personally, but like that mentality might not have been the case if not for a guy like Mac Jones, where, a guy like Ty Simpson could see that and then realize, hey, this is a possibility no matter what. And I think that's going to be really key to keeping some of these guys after. Because look, Alabama's not slowing down on their recruiting trail. They're going to continue to bring in high-profile quarterbacks. So not all of them are going to be able to play. I think, the key to keeping some of these guys and to making sure that Alabama's never shorthanded at the position, Mac Jones' ability to stay and then turn into what could be a top 10 pick, that's going to be really important, and it's going to be something, a real big feather in Nick Saban's cap moving forward.
Well, let's talk about this Alabama football program. And as we hang out with you on this Monday night, this is Monday Night Quarterback. Trey Yanity right below me, and then Tony Tsoukalas. I'm Mick Gillispie. Yeah, look, hi, guys. Hanging out with you. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. We're talking Alabama sports, a lot of Alabama basketball tonight, but now getting into football. Greg Byrne is the athletic director for Alabama, and he says that we're going to have a full stadium next year, Tony. Yay!
Yeah, that's a reason for excitement. Knock on wood, though. I mean, we'll see what, after this hectic, year we've been through, I'll believe it when I see it, but it certainly would be nice to get back to normal and see a full Bryant-Denny Stadium, because that would just be, it was kind of awkward and weird seeing it, at whatever amount capacity it was last year. Just it needs to be full. It's a cathedral. It needs to be full of fans, and I want to see that atmosphere return to Bryant-Denny Stadium, and then really to all the stadiums across the SEC. It's just a lot more fun to watch these games when everyone's cheering and the crowd is more electric. So I'm really hoping that, and I'm sure everybody surrounding the program is hoping that as well. That it returns to full capacity. It becomes, one of the best places to watch college football.
Yeah, no doubt. And I guess that I'm trying to figure out what angle that's from, because Trey, the student section, when we have a full capacity, seems to forget to get up to that upper deck area that they have and sit, unless it's a big game like the Iron Bowl or LSU or Georgia. So I'm going to guess that we're probably looking at it the other way right now. No, I'm just kidding. Look, it would be great to have everyone back. The vaccines are being handed out. We've kind of been through COVID. The numbers are way down, maybe herd immunity, whatever it is. Feels like the SEC saying that, look, we need to have fans. They want to be there. We want them there. Financially, we need them there, that we're going for it.
Yeah, this is, if the SEC is going to do it, I think they're going to do it full force. And, you talk about Alabama fans, at times they've been, noted to leave games early. They've been noted to maybe not even come to games if it's Southern Miss or Western Kentucky or one of these. I think this past year has done a lot of things. There's been a lot of things that we wish didn't happen, but it's created some positives. And I think that people will truly appreciate every single second of being in Bryant-Denny Stadium moving forward, because, this past year, there was a time where we thought we might not even have a season. So just being able to get back in there, being able to see the Crimson Tide in full capacity with, the electricity, Dixieland Delight, the new lights, everything else, the renovations that people really haven't gotten to take advantage of yet too. There's so many reasons why this would be a huge step for Alabama. And I think it would really signal, the beginning of the end for this thing if it hasn't already begun. Spring practice is going to be weird. It's going to be different. A-Day is going to be really weird still. This summer is going to be pretty weird. But I think once we start to get to the fall, once we get to August, Alabama gets their first home game, things could really look a lot more normal. And I think being in a full capacity Bryant-Denny Stadium, assuming everybody takes precautions, everything else, I think you would really look at that and think, wow, we're close if we're not already there to moving on from everything that's happened.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's just, I love the look of the stadium with people in there. And I've had so many great moments, whether it be working or in the stands. What a great feeling it is, though, when you get in there and the band's out on the field and it's like a fall afternoon, and here comes Alabama wearing those beautiful crimson and white jerseys, and maybe they're playing Tennessee wearing the bright orange and white. It's really fun sitting in the stands, and I'm looking forward to it. But hats off to the guys for playing last year, because it didn't look like we were going to have football. And there's some teams playing football right now. Deion Sanders' team in his league are actually having real games right now if they don't run into COVID. But good news that the SEC is saying, hey, we expect to have everyone back in the stadium for the 2021 campaign. Talking about 2021, some of the guys that won the national championship last year are poised to make an NFL debut. And one of my favorite guys, Mel Kiper Jr., hometown guy for me, has been doing draft boards for a long time. As a matter of fact, when he started doing his draft boards, it was just a hobby for him. He would just make them up and try to figure out where all the teams were going to pick and who they were going to pick. And it's turned into a career. He's one of the best at doing it. And Tony, you have been following Mel Kiper, who's starting to heat up now with where he thinks players are going to go. He's got guys slotted. I read the comment that he made about Mac Jones saying, hey, this guy's not going to beat you with his legs. He's going to beat you with his arms. He moves well enough to go into the NFL, slide around the pocket, kind of like a Tom Brady. And then he's smart enough and accurate enough to be able to throw the ball and do some damage that way. Let's talk.
Mel Kiper had a teleconference today with the media, and one of the topics, like you just said, was Mac Jones, and he brought up a 3rd and 2. If you remember, in the second half of the national championship game, Ohio State had just scored to make it a 14 to cut the lead to 14. Alabama had a 3rd and 2 from its 32-yard line, and Mac Jones takes a snap and he kind of rolls out and hits Jaleel Billingsley for a 22-yard gain. Alabama ends up scoring on that drive, as Mac Jones throws a touchdown pass to Slade Bolden. That really put away the game. But that one play, without that play, who knows? Maybe, Ohio State comes back, or it gives them the momentum they needed. But just that one play, it kind of shows the mobility that Mac Jones had. He's not going to be a scrambler. And when you look at the other top quarterbacks in this draft, they all can move the ball with their legs. Mac's not that guy. But he can move around better than you think. He can get around the pocket. He can slide. He can step, and he can make the throws he needs to the plays he needs to make. He's kind of been compared to Tom Brady. Today, Tua Tagovailoa was on a Yahoo Sports podcast, said that he was a more athletic Tom Brady. And that's, high praise as well. So I think Mac Jones is going to be a first-round pick. I actually think his floor is probably Washington at number 19. If you look at it, I don't see him slipping out of the top 20 at all. So when you look at it, Mel Kiper has him number 8 to the Panthers. I think that could be a realistic spot for him. Anywhere from there, maybe 7. I mean, if somebody trades up, I don't expect the Lions to take him at 7, but he could go at 7 if somebody feels like they need to trade up for him. Down to that 19 pick, because I really don't see him passing a Washington team that A, loves Alabama players, and B, needs a quarterback. So when you look at it, Alabama's not only going to have another first-round draft pick at quarterback, they're going to probably have a high one.
Yeah. What did he say about the rest of the Alabama players? I know that from what I understand, he was saying that there could be 6 Alabama players in the first round.
Yeah, in his mock draft, he has 6. He's had some interesting things. Just to break it down, I'll run through it. This is from the mock draft, not necessarily what he said today. He has Devontae Smith at number 3. He obviously has Mac Jones at number 8. He has Patrick Surtain at number 10, Jalen Waddle at number 11. Then you move down a little bit in the draft. I'm looking at it right now. So he has Landon Dickerson at number 24 to the Steelers, and then Christian Barmore at number 25 to the Jaguars. He talked about that Waddle. He actually mentioned, speaking again about the Patriots, as if they weren't going to go with a quarterback, maybe that they would target a guy like Waddle, but they might have to trade up for him. Mel Kiper today said he doesn't see Jalen Waddle going past 11 with the New York Giants. So, if a team like the Patriots wanted him, I think that they'd probably have to trade up for Waddle. I think, when you look at him, he's probably the third receiver off the board. I think you probably go Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle. Who knows? Maybe if he wows somebody with a 40 time, he could maybe even move into one of the top 2 spots. You never know. But that was an interesting one. Obviously, Mel sees Landon Dickerson as a possible first rounder. That's kind of breaking the norm of some of the mock drafts I've seen. In his mock draft, he has Landon Dickerson going to the Steelers at 24, but he also today said that Dickerson would be a good fit for the Ravens at 27. And you look at the Ravens; they're a team that they like themselves an Alabama player as well. Obviously, they have Bradley Bozeman on that offensive line, so it'd be kind of cool to see a Landon Bozeman offensive line for them. I think that if you look at one person on Alabama that I've seen kind of slip, it's probably been Naji Harris. It's not looking like there's going to be any running backs in the first round. I think that it's a shame because I think when you look at Naji, he's probably a first round back, but I think he might be in jeopardy of slipping out of the first round just because of the need at that position. That being said, it only takes one team to feel like they need that kind of running back, and he can get back into the first round. But that's always the risk of the receiver position in today's game, is not a lot of people want to invest that first round in it.
Yeah, it's crazy how things have changed so much, for running backs, where the draft to just eat them up. I mean, somebody that's that good might have to wait into the second round. So, Trey, your thoughts on what Tony just fed us there. Mel Kiper Jr., 6 Alabama players. Landon Dickerson stuck out to me. Great player, 3 knee surgeries in college.
Yeah, Landon's one of those guys that I think could go as high as maybe like 20 even, but it's going to be kind of a loaded tackle group there in the first round. So we'll see kind of where he shakes out. I think teams are a little bit worried about the surgeries, worried about his injury past, but at the same time, he's elite at his position. So, I could definitely see him going in the first round. But like Tony's saying, you got to feel terrible for a guy like Naji Harris, because in most seasons, he's taken in the first round. You really look back, in most seasons, he probably wins the Heisman Trophy. And, wasn't even the second guy on Alabama that would have won it this year. So, I don't think he's thinking like that. I don't think he's the kind of guy that's, I'd rather won the Heisman or this or that, or, I'd rather go over Mac Jones or whoever. I don't think he really cares. He's going to be happy any way you draw it. He's an Antioch, California guy. He's laid back, and he's going to make a lot of money playing this game. So, we'll see what happens there. But Alabama really, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 6, even 7 in the first round if Najee were to figure it out. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of buzz around those first 10, 15 picks. And I think Mac Jones is going to be a part of it. His value only continues to appreciate as the weeks go on here. It seems like every day, a new show is talking about Mac Jones, or a new projection has him higher, in the top 10 now, or this or that. And there's realistic situations where he could end up, going anywhere from number 8 to number 20, 25. So we'll see. I think Tony's, what'd you say, 16 was your floor for Mac Jones?
I said 19 is my 19? Floor, because I don't see him getting past Washington.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't hate that. Maybe even down to like 24. I can't remember who has the 24th pick, but it's a team. Maybe
it's the Steelers. The Steelers have the 24th pick. I just don't know if he gets there. I mean, like, if we're being honest, I don't think, the Patriots don't like to do exciting things in the NFL draft. But if Mac Jones is there at 15, Patriots need a quarterback. I can't think of a better pick for them at 15 than Mac Jones if he's there.
I see that. Or even like you're talking about Waddle too. I mean, you got to think about Smith and Waddle. Smith's going to go before Waddle at this point, with the injury, everything else. But Jalen Waddle's one of those guys that has a wide range of picks he could end up with. I could see him, going 9, 10, so maybe like the Broncos at 9, but even going to the Patriots there at 25 or whatever it is.
15, 15 for the Pats.
Yeah, so
another possibility, the Bears at 20 for Mac if he was to slip, past Washington. I just don't see that many teams passing on Mac Jones, especially with the trajectory that he's kind of developed over the last few weeks. I to be honest with you, I wouldn't be shocked if the Patriots don't get a chance at him at 15. I think there might be a chance that the Patriots want Mac Jones, they might have to trade up for Mac Jones.
Well, the other thing you guys got to remember too is that this year could be wild as far as the trades go. Russell's talking about wanting out of Seattle. He's even given a list of 4 teams. The Bears obviously want a new quarterback. They're not happy with Trubisky and Folds. You got Tua maybe gets traded and for Deshaun Watson and goes to the Texans. Maybe the Texans make a deal somewhere else. So that factoring in too. I've even, the 49ers are saying all the right things right now about Jimmy Garoppolo, but maybe you trade him for a pick. Maybe the Patriots want him back, for the right price.
He's so expensive though.
Right. This is going to be so interesting to see how this NFL draft breaks out, because we have all these Alabama guys and we have a quarterback in the mix. And we have a lot of picks that could be available for certain teams, and then some really big-time stars who want to play on different teams after seeing Tom Brady win the Super Bowl. So, draft day is going to be worth watching. A lot like this year's A-Day game. We kind of got into that as well last week, just seeing what happens at the Alabama quarterback spot. But let's stay with the NFL draft. You slid this over to me, Tony, and I got to talk about it. Mel Kiper saying Alex Leatherwood, 3rd round. Gosh, that seems awful.
Yeah.
He's the Outland Trophy winner.
Yeah, that was another thing I meant to bring up too. Mel Kiper, there is a growing thought, among different evaluators that Alex Leatherwood will not stay at the left tackle position in the NFL, which would obviously decrease his value. Mel said he saw Alex Leatherwood as a right tackle or possibly a guard, and he actually said that he saw him slipping down to the 3rd round. I know that's going to upset some Alabama fans who, you're talking about the Outland Trophy winner here, but yeah, I think that there's varying views on Alex Leatherwood. I wouldn't be surprised to see him slip in the draft, but if he does, I think he's going to make a team happy, because he's an athletic lineman who's really smart and really powerful too. He's a guy that's really done well at his Alabama career. He can play the guard position, and I think there's such a stigma on, this guy's going to have to move to guard. Well, you need quality guards too, so it's not like he's going to be sent to this desert island where he can't play as a guard. Teams need quality guards. So if he does move later in the draft, obviously that'd be a bummer for him, because he came back to elevate his draft status. But he's a guy I think could be a steal. If it's in the 3rd round, Alex Leatherwood's a hell of a pick.
Yeah, it'd be a great pick. All right, let's talk about Alabama baseball and softball. Trey Yanity, surprise, I'm throwing this one on you. I know you keep close attention to that. Baseball, a good weekend. They're off to a nice start. They're ranked. And then softball. Pat Murphy, this guy just seems to find a way to continue this role that Alabama's on. Now, I'm saying that blindly because I normally I'll pull it up, but softball, I'm just so confident in what they do.
This team is really, really special, and they were going to be really special last year if their season had gotten canceled. And, they kind of got off to a rough start last year, and people were a little bit, questionable. They were worried, is this team now what they were supposed to be? They were the preseason #1 team in the country unanimously. They had the longest winning streak in the country the year before that. They had gone to the Women's College World Series. So, there's a little bit of that letdown factor this year, but any kind of negative feeling you had about this team is completely thrown out the window. They are pitching the baseball better than anybody in the country. And, their offense is the part of the team that really excites you. Montana Fouts combined with Lexi Kilfoyle the other day for a no-hitter. Kilfoyle had another no-hitter this past Saturday against North Carolina. Still undefeated. I think they're somewhere 10 or 11-0 now. Just dominating teams. This team is different. And, it's not like they're just playing the UABs of the world or the Jacksonville States of the world. They had LSU come in last weekend. They were number 8 in the country, and they swept them. They had Louisville come in for a doubleheader out of the blue, and they swept them. And, they've really dominated teams. No hit North Carolina. So, this team, I think the sky is the limit. They host the SEC tournament this year, so that's going to be really enjoyable for them. And, they're going to be a shoe-in for Oklahoma City, I think. Baseball side of things, this team has been really weird so far to start this season. They've flexed the muscle a little bit, and it's a young team. There's a lot of kids. They have 2 freshmen in the starting lineup. The pitching staff is very young. The bullpen is very, very young. So it's gonna take some growing pains for this group. I believe they fell out of the rankings today. They dropped a game to UT Martin in the midweek this past week, which hurt them a little bit. But if you look at that game, Connor Shamlin was a starter. He pitched a really good effort, didn't allow a run. And then they brought in 3 kids who were making their college debut that day. So that's going to happen. It's going to take some time. You love seeing Owen Diodati, the real centerpiece, the right fielder, get off to a super hot start. He already has, I think, 3 homers. Zane Denton with a walk-off bomb in their first series and, 2 sweeps so far. So this team's playing good baseball. But if you look at the SEC, I don't know how much you guys know about how dominant the SEC is going to be this year, as they always are. But it truly is insane. Ole Miss is in a whole nother world this year. Vanderbilt is the best player in the country. Mississippi State's really good. Arkansas is really good. LSU is really good. I'm leaving some schools out too. Auburn ranked. It's loaded.
Hey, look, take it from someone who has covered the Cubs for a long time. Kumar Rocker, the Vanderbilt starting rotation would be top prospects for the Cubs. I mean, really, literally 1 and 2 is to give you an idea of just how good that Vanderbilt pitching staff is, and it's unbelievable what they've been able to do. And everyone wants to talk about is Ole Miss. Maybe this is the year that the Rebels finally get that championship that they've been close on, getting to the World Series some. But if Alabama is going to have the fan support that Jim Wells had back in the day, back when I remember, I used to get to sit in the dugout with Coach Wells. He would let me sit in there during practice. Alabama had a ton of fans at the game and a lot of enthusiasm. They're just going to have to win. But the tough part about that is these midweek games are the opportunity to play the guys that, you're trying to give them experience. And it's tough when you lose to UT Martin. And like you said, today out of the top 20, 30 or whatever it is, 25, 30, depending on what poll. But to get better, you've got to play those guys. That's just part of it. I love those uniforms, though. You can't beat an Alabama baseball uniform, and the stadium's great over there. So, anyway,
rocking this year too. They released the new Crimson Tide cream ones with the red sleeve. It's super nice. They're really good.
How about that? All right, guys. Anything else before we bid everyone farewell? We've almost been on here for an hour. It's hard to believe. And Tony, I know he's always wanting to stay on for an extra hour. I'm not going to be able to do that tonight. But, Tony, what do you got going on? BamaInsider.com. That's where a lot of your work is. You're breaking down the draft. You're following Alabama basketball. You're keeping an eye on football. You're doing all those things. And people can check out the stories, BamaInsider.com.
Yeah, you basically hit it all. We're continuing our early enrollee series as well. We're kind of examining all of Alabama's early enrollees before camp. We'll have a basketball game tomorrow, the last basketball game in Coleman this season. So that's exciting as well. So just, stay tuned. We'll continue to keep you plugged in on everything Crimson Tide.
How about you, Trey? I know you're powering through a senior year in college. You're working at Crimson Tide Productions, helping out on the SEC network, doing other stuff, and then hanging out with us, man. What do you got going on?
Yeah, it's a busy time of the year. This is kind of when all the sports are really getting it going. Baseball is getting started. Basketball is wrapping up. So it's a busy time, but it's a really fun time. We got, more player profiles going on. Will Reichert released yesterday. That one was a whole lot of fun. Go check that out. We got the live shows going on right now. We're going to have some content this week, actually, on J.D. Davidson, the 5-star commit to Alabama. He's playing in the state semifinals. So we're going to get some highlights of him up this week and, all kinds of great content. Go check out Tony's articles and, all of Mick's live shows. There's so much stuff up right now, guys. What you got going on, Mick?
Well, thanks, Trey. McDonald's All-American Davidson, right?
He is.
Oh, great sound. It takes those guys to win in basketball consistently. You got to have those Ronald McDonald guys, the Happy Meals, the McDonald's All-Americans, filet of fish, Big Macs. All right, look, been there, right, McRib, McNuggets. We could sit here all day and do this, right? No, look, I'm going to be back on Wednesday with Kyle. We're going to kind of riff again. Sunday night, obviously, I take your calls. Some Wednesdays we do the calls. We're lining things up right now for a bracket show. We were kind of talking about that today. So we're going to be covering basketball as Alabama starts to play in these big games and into the NCAA tournament. Tomorrow it'll be Andrew Bone coming off of another win for Bone. I mean, him and I were off the air, and I said, I'm hearing a lot of people saying Martin's going to go to Clemson, and that's what they think in Tennessee. And he said, I don't know, man. I feel like he's coming to Bama, which we hear a lot from Bone these days, and he was right. So I'm sure he'll talk about that and other stuff. Kyle Henderson will be there as well. All right, guys. Well, look, it's been a lot of fun talking Alabama athletics. This does it for Monday Night Quarterback. Obviously, I want you to subscribe. I want you to hit the thumbs up. We're getting ready for continued draft coverage in the 8A game, but the NCAA tournament takes precedence right now as Alabama tries to get ready as SEC champ. So you got the SEC tournament, finish up the regular season before that, and then we get to put them on a bracket. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, for Tony and Trey, I'm Mick. Thanks for watching, guys. BamaInsider.com. It's your place to hang out. Alabama's rival site.